Okay. All right. So the next game we've got on the slate, we're going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers traveling to play the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Now, this is the game, if you're going to bet on, I'm going to talk to you about why I would bet on this game. So the Niners are 4-point favorites,
At the Eagles.
and it's a 50-point total as of today, as of this recording. So
Who's your team? Who's your who you
bet-wise,
taking? Who you taking?
take the Eagles.
Take the Eagles.
This is why. You've got the 49ers traveling East Coast for the second game in a row. They may not have even went back to San Francisco. They probably stayed in Philly, and that usually puts teams in disadvantage.
Kind of think that would bode a little bit well for them.
Potentially, but it's also that depends if they stayed. If they
Right.
didn't stay and they flew back and forth again,
Right.
this is not a
But
good
again,
look
you
for
just
them.
Say take the line.
And you're
win or lose. Long as they
and
cover
you're
that.
on the road
Yeah.
as a favorite.
Yeah.
Against a team that just won on the road.
Yeah.
That's two factors I always look at when I'm picking my spreads. But this Niners team traveling cross country for the second week in a row, unless they stayed on in the East Coast, which I didn't see any article saying that they stayed. That
didn't
concerns
look
me
either.
for San Fran.
Yep.
And at the same time, they have no clue who their quarterback is. But let's talk about the visitors. Since they're the favorites, we'll talk about the 49ers first. What are you looking at when it comes to this game? What do you like?
I've been waiting.
It's jumping all over you.
Okay, so I said, some weeks you're either going to pay up for tight end, you're either going to pay up for Travis Kelce's of the world, Darren Waller when he's on the slate,
Kittles.
or George.
Kittles.
Give me some Kittles.
Right. Oklahoma boy.
Tight ends and wide receivers operate in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Just play them versus Philly. Kittle, you look at his box score last week, didn't really need him last week against Detroit. They kind of jumped on them.
Right. They played Detroit.
But I think the game goes a little bit different this week. Philly will put up a fight this week, especially you just said they cover. So now they have to throw the ball a little bit more. Now you got to use your assets.
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel, that was like the one guy lineup wise. That'd be the one Jim that didn't throw that kind of broke out, but he operates in that same middle of the field. So I do think that George Kittle and Deebo Samuel are excellent plays this week. I'm actually going to stay away from that running game a little bit this week. I know that's their bread and butter, but Philly is a good team against the run.
They actually are.
They're funnel defense. They shut the run down and they allow that pass, and they actually allow it in the middle of the field. You attack that. So that is why George Kittle is going to be one of my favorite tight ends this week. One of my favorite plays of the week. Just overall, one of the favorite plays of the week this week.
Yeah, I saw the O-line, D-line matchups on Pro Football Focus, and they've got the Eagles having a solid defensive line.
And they stop the run. They do. And that's kind of one of the trends over the years. I kind of talk about the tight ends versus Cleveland, runners against Kansas City, middle of the field, especially as tight end. Against Philly, and mainly because they stuffed the run so well.
Yeah.
So in this particular game, when you're building lineups, you got to figure out what you really like. So the 49ers, that's what they want to do. They want to run the football.
Yes.
That's their bread and butter.
That's
so
life
do you
for them.
figure out if they outpower that matchup, are they matchup proof or not?
Right.
And their fall, Mostert's out, next man up. We did see that works, but, will they struggle to run the football against Philly? And,
Now, if Philadelphia is smart, Kittle should go off on this game.
Yes.
He should, because Deebo Samuel got 12 of the 25 targets in last week, and that is a really high number.
I believe Kittle only had 4 catches last week.
Yep, 5 targets, 4 catches.
Yep.
That's kind of low. I mean, Deebo Samuel had 12 targets with 9 receptions.
Yep.
So numbers-wise, he's the volume guy. It looks like that is Garoppolo's security blanket.
Yeah.
That's his safety net. That's who he wants to go to, even though Kittle should be that.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
Maybe this, maybe they lost their D coordinator and O coordinator in San Francisco.
That's true.
Maybe, again, week one, overreact, underreact. We are playing the matchups. Maybe they do want to get the ball in the receiver's hands more like most teams do and not have Kittle be so much of the focus, but still bake on history, play the matchups. Against, played the match against San Francisco. Against Detroit. Of course, Deebo Samuel goes off of the wide receiver, they're supposed to, and that's why kind of hit myself for kind of missing that. But I was just all over the running game.
That's true.
They were heavy favorites in that game. They were actually the highest favorite last week. It wasn't too many blowouts. So that type of game script favors the runners.
It does. And we'll see if their running game still maintains, even though that's Kyle Shanahan, which is funny. Kyle Shanahan is known for being a quarterback whisperer, but his teams are super heavy on the creativity at the run. The run.
Yeah, they draw
at the power run.
Yeah, they draw up these run plays like they do. So, so if you want to go back to them, the thing that I always have problem, and the only reason I got on Mostert late is because Sermon got ruled out. And I thought he'd run the backfield. So now you got back to the question that you always have, Frisco. Who do you play in the backfield?
It's going to be Hasty as well.
Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell is really the one that kind of emerged out of that game.
He did.
He with all the fantasy points. I mean, Hasty did score.
Yeah.
The guy that did text me, he ended up with more points than my guy did.
Exactly.
Because Mostert with his 2. But Hasty landed about 9 fantasy points, but Mitchell ended up with about 20 fantasy points
That's true.
last week. So figured it out. But again, I'm favoring Kittle and Samuel, though, personally.
That's a good point.
Playing the matchups.
Got to play the matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Philly. So with that, then looking at Philly, let's jump over to them real quick.
Right back to Hurts. It's one of my favorite quarterbacks. Last week gave us 28 fantasy points. Because again, whether you go down or up, you look at Jared Goff. Was he in a prime matchup? No. But what had to happen? He threw 300 yards on Frisco at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how it comes. Sometimes you just turn off the TV, don't watch.
Yeah. It's just so bad. He's like, we're good.
Don't watch.
And then, of course, Detroit came back and almost took the game.
Yeah, they did.
So if Philadelphia plays a clean football game, which Hurts looks like he's doing a better job of, he did fumble the ball once, but didn't lose it. Thank goodness. He runs a bakery as well. Someone to keep an eye on. But I think that he does a good job of staying composed.
It is a tough matchup, but listen to you. If you favor them to cover, if you like the Philly side, then Jalen Hurts is going to be a part of it. He runs, so you're getting fantasy points in multiple ways. And when we compared lineup to the million lineup, Hurts was better at a better price. So I do I wasn't sure last week what to do about his receivers and who he would throw it to.
Right.
So you did get some little bit of clarity with Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor. I think you can go right back to either one of those two. I like those matchups. I don't really like the tight end spot there against Frisco, but I think Ertz might be hobbled, maybe out. That kind of helps.
Yeah, Ertz is a little
banged up. If he's ruled out, that kind of bangs up. That kind of brings up Goddard a little bit. But
he was limited in practice.
But I did say last week I like playing Hurts by himself. I don't like stacking him much. Because he runs. He did throw those touchdowns last week. Yeah, but when he can't.
But he had 7 carries for 62 yards. So he's going to get you additional numbers. And he's kind of like Kyler Murray. Yep. Just he doesn't do much in the red zone. He does more in the open field, which leads to him getting touchdowns.
Exactly. But don't forsake it's and when you're ranking the quarterbacks, when you narrow them down, again, it is a decently tough matchup.
It's true.
But I do like him because he can run that ball and do multiple things.
Yeah. So in this game though, defensive wise, I wouldn't touch either one of the two. I wouldn't touch. I think if I would have to pick one of the two, I'd pick San Francisco's probably.
Yeah, not ideal for either one of them, especially on the road like they are. You never count out a good defense, but
even though Garoppolo didn't throw the ball much. He threw the ball 25 times last game. Well, he didn't have to. So
25 times still got him 300 yards. Surprisingly, I think he threw for 300 last week.
He did.
He did for 300 yards. Which again, know your sites, know your bonuses.
314.
In the leagues you are. So if you got 300-yard bonus, he did hit it.
Yeah, he did hit
but again, last week I was all over the running game. Kind of missed on the passing game, but I don't like Jimmy G. He only had like 1 touchdown. And
Deebo Samuels did have that 79-yard catch.
And that 79 of the 300.
Exactly.
So you take that off and you're barely over 200. That
inflates you. And like I said, Deebo Samuels basically had all the yards at those 9 kicks, 189.
Yep, or 189.
Yeah, 189 is what he had. So 21 yards a catch. Good God. Son. So, yeah.
But but Jalen Reagor, he is only 4.1K. I will throw that out there.
Keep that in mind.
And he had a good game.
So. That's true. Yeah.